Hello everyone, this is me Debashis for Revsportz, and as you can see right behind me, I am at the Nottingham Forest Football Club, and I am with a legend in himself, John McGovern, who captained Nottingham Forest side to two back-to-back European titles in 1979 and 80 under legendary manager Brian Clough. John, welcome to Revsportz. Obviously, you played for under Brian Clough for four different clubs and winning two European titles.
That's right.
Yes. So why do you think he took you everywhere, and more importantly, why you chose to be with him?
Well, I think it was Peter Taylor who first noticed in a trial match that I had at Hartlepool United in English League Division 4. And in the local papers, there was a quote from Peter Taylor who said to Brian, "Lock the doors of the ground and don't open them till we've signed that skinny kid playing it outside right in the trial match." And obviously I was the skinny kid playing it outside right in the trial match. So obviously I signed as an apprentice and then a full-time professional at Hartlepool. Played in the 4th and then 3rd divisions with them. Brian Clough meanwhile had taken over as manager of Derby County, so he then bought me from Hartlepool United to play for Derby County. So I played for him there, and that's where I won promotion, the 2nd Division champions for my first season at the club. Then obviously we went on to win the 1st Division championship. So that was my first big honour in the game. And then obviously Clough went for a short spell to Leeds United. Unfortunately, took me with him. He was not successful. He was not received very well by either players or supporters. Neither was I. So when he took the job at Nottingham Forest after losing it at Leeds, I was pleased to go with him and join him again for the 4th time at Nottingham Forest. And then, as they say in the fairy story books, it was then history after that, because obviously at Nottingham Forest we managed to win promotion, win the 1st Division championship, and then in 1979 win the European Cup at the first attempt. And then in 1980 beat the German champions at the magnificent Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid for 2 consecutive European Cup wins. Nowadays they call it the Champions League, when I wish they wouldn't, because when we played you had to be champions of your country to get in the competition. Now you can be 4th or 5th in your country and get in the competition. So please, UEFA, if you're listening to this, can you change the name, because it's not the Champions League.
Yeah. And talking about Clough's secret, obviously what do you reckon? Was he a great tactician, or was it his managerial skills that has paved the way for success? Obviously, he did not have a top flight himself as in career, in a football career, but when it comes to coaching, he had an outstanding record.
I think everyone understands coaching, but Clough understood people. And as you're saying, man-to-man management was his forte. When it came to signing players, he would leave that totally for Peter Taylor to take care of, because Peter Taylor used to sign all the players. So you've got Peter Taylor, who's brilliant at signing players with real ability. Clough then takes over as the man manager, manages the players, because that's his forte, his strength. So you've got two different people who are brilliant at different aspects of the game of football. If they're both good at the same thing in football, you won't see any improvement. But Peter Taylor was the recruitment officer, as you would call him in the modern game. Also helped out with a little bit of the coaching, but it was mainly left to Clough. And as a disciplinarian, he was almost as strict as my mother. She could have taught him a thing about being strict. But I just used to listen to what he had to say to me from when I was the age of 16 and put into practice what he told me and what I thought was right out there on the football field. So, great disciplinarian. Peter Taylor, the best recruitment officer in the game. 2 different aspects of football. You can't go wrong. And we didn't.
John, you won the English Division 1 in 1977-78 season, right after being promoted from the 2nd Division. You were taking one of the all-time great sides in Bob Paisley's Liverpool. So what gave you the confidence that you could even compete with them, leave alone beating them to the title?
Well, when you go out to play a game of football, it's just 11 against 11. And if you've got ability in the side, then obviously you can compete. Because obviously when we beat Liverpool the first 3 or 4 times that we did, people stood and said, well, how have they managed to do that? But it's because the players that I played with, they did have ability. And obviously, as a persuasive manager, Clough used to get the best out of the players. So we became a very close-knit team who worked hard for each other, worked hard for the manager, and helped each other out if we ever got in trouble out there on the football field. You can always tell the best teams, because when one of the players gets the ball, he always has an option to pass it to from one of his own teammates. And we were one of those type of teams where if one of us was in trouble marked by two of the opposition, you would get a nice welcome shout from one of your own teammates saying, I'll have it, give me the ball. So we worked for each other. We were brilliant as a side. We had some brilliant players. We had Peter Shilton in goal to start with, who went on to win 125 caps for England. So his pedigree was guaranteed. With some of the other players, it took Clough's persuasion and man management to get the best out of them. But when they found out that what they're being told by the manager is the truth about how you play the game of football, and it is a very simple game. There are too many people in the modern game that try and complicate it. You know, first of all, you've got to have good ability on the ball, i.e. ball control. Then you've got to have the ability to pass it or shoot. And then, obviously, if you've got an understanding mentally of how the game of football is played, then defensively you'll be good as well. So, you know, we had all the lessons that were taught to us by the manager we would put into practice out there on the football field.
John, how big a part do you think Peter Taylor played in Clough's success as a manager? I mean, so obviously, do you think that he would have been as successful without Peter Taylor by his side?
No, Peter Taylor was absolutely necessary. Whenever we signed any players, Peter Taylor is the one that recommended them, and then obviously Clough was the one that used to go out and negotiate with the clubs that we wanted to sign them from. You know, I was different in a sense because Clough met me when I was 16 years of age. I didn't have a father at the time. There was only my mother. So, you know, he became a sort of slight father figure with his diction in the way he taught me how to play football. I fell in love with the game only when I was 15 because I hadn't played for a team before I was 15 years of age. So I was a little bit of a late learner. But I believed truly in the things that Brian Clough said to me. And if I didn't believe in some of the things he said to me, I let them go in one ear and then out of the other. So I didn't listen and do every single thing he said. But when it came to the football things, he was usually right. So it was easy to follow that.
John, a lot of people were mystified by the fact that you never won a Scotland Cup, but you did lift the European Cup twice with Nottingham Forest. Kind of make up for that?
Well, I was very, very disappointed myself, but there were a lot of really good midfield players around at the time. You know, Billy Bremner, Graham Souness, just to mention two. And there were a lot of others, Kenny Dalglish, players like that used to play in midfield. So, yeah, very, very disappointed. I never received one cap, but I played for the under-23s, as they call it, once or twice. And then when one of the new managers took over at Scotland, I found it a little bit difficult because one of the journalists said after one game, you know, how many Forest players are going to play in Scotland's team? And we'd just beaten Manchester United at Old Trafford 4-0. And the Scottish manager said, they're all playing. But when he announced the team on the Monday, I wasn't in it. And when he was asked by the pressman who had inquired about, you know, what the team was going to be, he actually told him, and he said, I didn't know John McGovern was Scottish. Now that's the true story. Nobody will believe that, but that's a true story. Under that Scottish manager, Scotland won very little, by the way.
John, a lot of people say that European Cup was easier to win in the old days compared to the present-day Champions League. Do you agree?
Not at all. It's as difficult to win now as it was then. Football will never change. It's always 11 against 11 when you start off a match. And if you play against Liverpool Football Club, we know their history, the most successful team in British football. So you always know that if you play against Liverpool, it doesn't matter which year it is, it's going to be a difficult game. Their record is incredible. Thankfully, when I was at Nottingham Forest, we managed to just overtake them for a couple of seasons. But it kept that big, shiny, so-called European Cup in this country And we were part of the teams like Aston Villa, Liverpool and ourselves that kept it in this country for 7 consecutive years. Now, we haven't done that since then, English clubs. And people ask me why, and I said, well, we're not good enough. If you're good enough, you win things. If you're good enough to win European trophies like Liverpool did, Aston Villa did, we did at Nottingham Forest, you're good enough because you've won the trophies. You have the same chances as everyone else. So if they haven't won it as many times in consecutive years as we did, then they're not as good as we were.
Yeah. Obviously, Clough didn't have as much success in the 1980s as in comparison with the previous decade, and his career gradually tailed off. What do you think was the main reason?
Well, he had an argument with Peter Taylor. I don't know the actual ins and outs of what the argument was, but they fell out together and never spoke to one another again. So Peter Taylor left the club, went to manage at Derby County, one of obviously their former clubs, and it was this falling out between Clough and Taylor that reduced the chances of the team ever winning any trophies, although Clough did manage to pull things round and won 2 League Cups with Stuart Pearce as the captain. So he still managed to maintain a high degree of success, but not really high enough as they had done in previous years.
Lastly, finally, obviously, when you look at the glorious past here, you were at the Nottingham Forest club. Means, what is the best memory or the best moment you have with this club?
Well, obviously, it was lifting the league championship trophy for the first time as captain, because over the Football League in those days you had to play 42 league matches. In the cup competitions you can have luck. You can have a good or bad refereeing decisions. You can have a goalkeeper making a mistake. You can have a striker missing an open goal. But over 42 matches, as it used to be, if you're top of the league then you deserve to be top of the league. All your good luck and bad luck evens itself out. And in sport, you always sometimes need a little bit of good luck.
So that was John McGovern exclusively for every Revsportz viewers. This is me, Debasius, signing out from Nottingham Forest Club. Until then, keep watching.
Obviously the 2 European Cups, 1979 and 1980.
Excellent.
Obviously 1979 against Malmo, 1980 against Hamburg, the German champions. Both scores 1-0, of course.